yesterday, I thought DK Metcalf reeked of desperation. It's like buying a house to save the marriage. They can't get offense right. Let's massively overpay at a position the Steelers have actually draft and develop really well, wide receiver. I think Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh would win about 9 games. And so Mike Tomlin's streak would be alive. But you know what? When you keep finding stop gaps for the leaky roof, you end up with a bunch of buckets inside the house instead of just replacing the roof. The Steelers have been great twice in my life. Terry Bradshaw in his prime, Big Ben in his prime. Outside of that, they've had buckets around the facility. A Bubby Brister here, a Neil O'Donnell there, a Mitch Trubisky here. Aaron 5 years ago would not be buckets around the house. He would be a new roof. That's not the Aaron you're getting. So, and, what's interesting here, kind of a cautionary tale, and I know I'm always Mr. Anti-Aaron, but it's ending this way because, Minnesota was looking for a potential quarterback. Seattle was. Vegas was with Chip Kelly. The Colts were. A return to the Jets. And they all said, nah. So, the Jets and the Steelers swapping quarterbacks feels like 2 C- students cheating off each other on a test. Hey, we'll take your guy that didn't work, and we'll take your guy that didn't work. I think Aaron's talented. But I think both the Jets and the Steelers have shown, as we've noted multiple times, they just don't have a feel for offense. And it's not because the Steelers don't have talent. So maybe DK, Metcalf, and Aaron, the tight end I like. There's players here. But I've been saying this for like 5 years. I've loved the Steelers roster for 5 years. I've been saying this for years. I love the players. They just don't get offense. So, Aaron, there was a lot of people out there that could have had Aaron, and all of them are like, nah, and the Steelers got him. So it feels a little desperate to me. That's how it feels. And in my life, the Steelers have been great twice when they had Hall of Fame quarterbacks in their prime. I think Aaron 6 years ago to Pittsburgh, that's something to get excited about. This, it's big. Steelers brand, Aaron brand. We'll talk about it a lot. I see no value in talking about New York football teams. So Aaron at least went to a place that's interesting. There's something there. Nick Wright, top of the hour. Urban Meyer, Jordan Schultz around the corner. Denver Broncos, what are they doing getting a couple of guys on the defensive side that are a little injury-plagued? The Commanders get Laramie Tunzel. That feels good to me. A great pass blocker. A lot of penalties, but a great pass blocker. More in a second. Live in L.A., it's The Herd.
The Browns are still likely to search for a veteran bridge quarterback this season. Now, they traded DTR for Kenny Pickett. I think that was yesterday. So Kenny Pickett will be the backup. He comes from the Eagles.
Let me throw
my problem is, what are we doing?
Okay.
Who is this veteran quarterback?
I'm going to defend Cleveland for the second day in a row.
Oh, boy.
So I thought the Myles Garrett deal, I love the coach, love Myles Garrett. Those are 2 of the 4 things you have to win in this league. You got to have a great coach, got to have a great pass rusher. Okay. If your scouting department is like, listen, we don't think Shedeur is a top 20 player in this draft, you're not picking him second or third. So my take is this. You trade that pick down because somebody is willing to go up and get him.
Yeah.
You trade that pick down, get multiple picks. Because of what you're paying Deshaun and because of what you're paying Myles Garrett, you get 2 or 3 or 4 more picks. I think Andrew Berry's one of the smarter young GMs in the league. You get a bunch of players on the cheap, and then Deshaun Watson, still a Brown. You figure out him and some random journeyman, and it's not a season. You're not a Super Bowl team. But the thing is, if you draft Shedeur, and your scouting department's like, we think he's a top of the second round guy, which there are scouting departments in this league that feel that, you're going to have to plan for 2 or 3 years, and it's going to set you back. Average quarterbacks aren't winning Super Bowls. So trade the pick down, get a bunch of picks, hit on as many as you can, play the numbers game, and go big game hunting at quarterback next year.
So, first of all, they didn't have number 1 picks the last 3 years due to the Deshaun Watson deal, right? However, last year's draft stunk for them. I'm looking at Pro Football Reference. They hit on nothing. I like Andrew Berry as well.
Yeah.
I don't know about that scouting department. Colin, they're not going to be picking this high again. They're not going to be that bad. If they get Kirk Cousins, what's another veteran option besides Kirk Cousins? Aaron Rodgers ain't going to Cleveland. So who else is there? Like Russell Wilson? Like, I think this is the year you've got to take a quarterback. Deshaun Watson's probably not coming back from the Achilles till
But
maybe
remember,
Halloween
if
or
you
Thanksgiving.
reach on a quarterback, then you've got to commit to him for 3 years. So you're just putting yourself behind the 8 ball again. I'm always a big believer in bottom out. Next year's a much better college quarterback class. Now, if you can go in here's another example, and I'm a believer in this. Let's say you move down in the draft and you get an extra 2. Kyle McCord, Syracuse, who I think could end up being the second best quarterback in this draft.
They already ran him out of Ohio once, okay? It's not going to work in Cleveland. No, that was harsh. But it did happen at Ohio State. Listen, we disagree. That's fine. The Browns have had 8 different starting quarterbacks since 2022, Colin. Most in the league. My Jets are second.
If I was the GM of the Browns, I would move down. I would accumulate picks. I would take a quarterback, either a Jackson Dart or a Kyle McCord in the second round. And then, by the way, once you're a second-round quarterback, you don't face that pressure that you can just draft the guy in the second and go, yes, he's not going to be what we think. But you draft a quarterback in the top 2 or 3, you got to play him for 3 years.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's an indictment of you and the scouting department.
Yeah, definitely. Final story, Colin, as the Colts inked Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, a.k.a. Danny Loose Change. He got a 1-year, $14 million deal. Remember, the Giants dumped him last year, and he was on Minnesota's practice squad. He is going to contend with Anthony Richardson for the starting QB job in Indy. Shane Steichen is a good coordinator. We knew that in Philly. He's a sharp offensive mind. He's now got 2 inaccurate, is that a good word? Inaccurate quarterbacks in Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. This is probably the least appealing quarterback competition that I can recall in recent years. If you're Indy, if you're a fan, you got to be disappointed. Are you surprised Daniel Jones got $14 million from the Colts?
No, it's a 1-year deal, and I'll be honest with you. I think in a weird way, Daniel Jones last year got some Kevin O'Connell coaching, and now he gets Shane Steichen coaching. I would keep your eye on Daniel Jones, actually, this being a value acquisition, because I believe they will move off Anthony Richardson by October, and Daniel Jones will have a great offensive coach, and I think, unlike the Giants, a really good roster. So I think the winner here, this looks like a nothing burger, and I'm not saying Daniel Jones is taken to the promised land. The winner in this is Daniel Jones. Yeah. You say, oh, it's a 1-year deal. It's a great offensive coach, and it's also a situation where he may beat out Anthony Richardson in camp.
Would not surprise me.
I would not. He's a better quarterback. I mean, he got to the playoffs.
If you want to be optimistic, put on your Colts, whatever color they are, glasses. This is sort of a similar setup to the Giants. Smart offensive mind, Daboll, Steichen. Really good running back, Saquon and Jonathan Taylor.
Colts roster's better.
I would agree. And wide receiver, you don't have Malik Neighbors, but you got Pittman, who's very good.
Yes, yeah.
And they're in position here to draft an impact player early. I think the Colts could be okay next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, in this division, and again, the winner is a guy that's taken a beating, Daniel Jones. This is basically betting on yourself. I'm going to go, I think Daniel went to Duke. He's a pretty smart guy. He looked around, and he had Daboll, but the roster was bad. And then he goes, hangs out with Kevin O'Connell and goes, God, look what he did to Darnold. And I think he saw the value of that offensive coaching, and he's like, yeah, I will absolutely. That's really interesting. Indiana. There are a lot of places in this league that have people that don't know offense, running the show and the culture. I think the winner here is, I don't know if the Colts are the winner, but Daniel Jones is the winner here. This is a great landing spot for him.
That division is officially up for grabs. The way the Texans are handling their offensive line, they just traded another guy.